For a lot of reasons. Well, the major reason is that I came originally from the financial sector, financial industry, and I then moved to an operational position. I managed in a large group, a division, operational division, and it's very easy to go from finance to operation, but it's very difficult to go back to finance once you've left it. And actually, once I've left, I've just left Japan, where I had all my career, and I meant to go back to finance, and I knew it would be very difficult without going back to a little bit of training before applying for a position. It was very difficult. It was very challenging, but very exciting at the same time. I enjoyed it very much. Maybe my husband a little bit less, but no, it was really great. And the master is very well organized. It's Friday, Saturdays. So it's, as far as the class attendance workload is, it's not huge. Of course, the work at home is very, very big, but that's flexible so that I could accommodate very easily. But again, yes, working, family life, you have to be prepared for 1 year to do some sacrifices. But I mean, it's just a year. It's very challenging intellectually, and what remains afterwards is worth it. So I'm very happy I did it. What remains afterward? Well, first, the sense of a great experience. I learned a lot, both intellectually, academically, but also humanly. It was important for me, coming from a career of 10 years in Japan, to have access again to communication, group work with Europeans. At the same time, a formal, informal background. So that was very, very important. And that experience very much remains, as well as the network. And then, of course, when I apply now for positions, I have that kind of both communicational, European, back to European life aspect on my resume, which is very noteworthy. In interviews, I get a lot of comments and questions about it, so that definitely remains. Yes, very much so. I mean, I became very good friends with at least 2 people in the program, so that's being a newcomer in Brussels. I came for the program. I just arrived a few weeks before. So I didn't know anybody. So now my network in Brussels is the people from the program and my daughter's parents. So it's quite an interesting network. How to convince other people? It's not really knowledge. It's more a communicational skill. I mean, of course, it's half joke. There's very important key financial, technical knowledge that we acquire, and also some very interesting zoom in, zoom out perspective. In other words, how to put in perspective the financial knowledge. What's the background? What's the framework in which it makes sense? So that's very key knowledge. But tests are not about knowledge. They're about communicating some group work to a professor. And that requires a lot of communication skill. Not only to communicate to the professor, but before that, when you're in group work, you have to convince other people. I mean, you research and you find something, and you're convinced it's correct. So it's absolutely obvious to you that it's correct, but it's not obvious to other people. So maybe if it's bingo, it's the right answer for the teacher, for the professor, it's going to be obvious too. But for other people who do not know the correct answer, then you have to be really, really skilled and good, and put in an extra mile, extra effort to convince them. So that was really exciting. That was very, very interesting. I don't know if it's knowledge, maybe soft skill I acquired during the program. It's a tough question because, again, what I acquired from it is quite practical. But the bottom line knowledge is quite theoretical, not theoretical, but conceptual. It's a lot of brain work that is put into work in front of us. So yeah, it's a combination of both, actually. Well, indeed, it's too early to say, but I do hope it has. because, as I mentioned, I'm an independent consultant, but I thought I was ready to go back to corporate. And I couldn't go back to corporate just like that. And I thought I needed a little bit additional, so we say in French, bagage, additional line on my resume as far as academics are concerned. So I can't say, but definitely in interviews, it does have an impact. I've just started my job search process 2 weeks ago, so it's a bit early.
Okay.
Why Solvay? I don't know. More personal reasons actually than I wanted a good school in a French-speaking country, because I wanted to come back from Japan to a French-speaking country for my daughter to start speaking French. That was my big driver. So I needed either France or Switzerland or Belgium. And in France, I couldn't find, so it's a bit negative. Actually, Solvay was the best candidate a bit by default. So I don't know if that's very helpful for you guys, but so in Paris, they didn't have a good program in English. I wanted a program in English because I think that, at least for me, finance is an English business. You don't do finance in France. Sorry, it simply doesn't work. So I wanted a program in English. I wanted exposure to a lot of European nationalities, and in Geneva, I wasn't so convinced that would happen. In Geneva, you have more people from Northern Europe, but I wanted a real exposure. I thought being in Brussels for my after program career next step was very good because of where I wanted to go, which is NGOs specialized in microfinance, and I had identified places in Brussels that were very interesting. And also Solvay has a microfinance program, so I was interested a little bit with this possible synergies there. So a lot of reasons, nothing really clear-cut, but a to-do list and a lot of check marks, and finally Solvay was the best candidate. Brussels was a convincing item on the list. I thought, well, being in the center of Europe after having been in Japan for 10 years would be really, really important. Also for my husband, who's Japanese and who's also a consultant, and so being in such a hub was important also for him. I have a lot of good memories. Well, it's very small details, but after group work is a lot of hard work and working together sessions. And so once you've clicked on the send button, it's a great feeling. So altogether, sending the case you've just completed, and afterwards it was really, really great atmosphere. So yeah, that would be a best memory. It was very gratifying because we're not kids. We're all adults and all professionals. So they were very keen on hearing our experience too. So, well, the breaks were sometimes not more interesting than the classes, but also very, very interesting and learning experience because, again, they came to have coffee with us. So that was very, very interesting. During the class, the question and answer pace was also interesting. So there was a lot of interaction. And but overall, I would say that they had a way of communicating their knowledge, the knowledge we don't have, and that they believed it is a good complement to our existing skill base in a way that was very participative and very challenging for us. So it was a very positive experience. My first feeling when I arrived was, oh, it's Brussels-based, because, and the simple reason is that the cocktail party, on the welcoming day, So everything was in English. And then we went to have the cocktail and everything turned to French. So I was a bit disappointed. Oh my God, okay. It's turning to French. But then, first, the whole class was not there yet. And a lot of people who couldn't speak French, which is great, because when these people join, then it's like a roadblock. They hadn't joined yet. They were a bit late joiner. And so when these people joined, then it became a bit more, indeed, international. And so the feeling of going from, the initial cocktail party was pretty much, this is Brussels, but then it went on to a more international experience when, like we had a lot of Italians, my best friend is Polish, so yeah, it did become a very international experience as time went. I would say a challenging communicational experience.